Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review for Fear the Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 2. And this episode's called The New Frontier. And it came out on June 4th. Yep, June 4th, 2017. The same day as the season premiere. And what a way. So, since this aired the same day, they really did something big in this episode that I didn't really expect to happen. I'm just going to start off by talking about it. You know the typical breakdown, and I'm just going to kind of break down the biggest story just because it was really worth talking about. So, Alicia, Travis, Jake, and Charlene are in the helicopter, and everything's going fine. They find out, when they're gonna get there and stuff, and then some people start shooting at the helicopter, and there's a bunch of commotion going down, and everyone's dodging bullets, and Travis gets shot right in the throat, and he ends up bleeding profusely. I don't know if that's how you say that word, but just go with it. And Travis, and when the shooting stops, Travis is in such shock that he opens up the door to the helicopter and acts like he's gonna jump out because he knows that he's pretty much probably not gonna make it. And Alicia tries to stop him, and Alicia, I think, lets Travis go just because she knows he's not gonna make it, and when she lets go, Travis falls out of the helicopter to his death. It's to his death because no one would survive a fall from that height. You fell out of a helicopter. No one's surviving that crap. And that was like the opening of the episode, and I was just kind of thinking, damn, because Travis was one of the main characters in this episode, and they killed him off in the second episode in. I was very surprised about this. I don't know how I feel about this because Travis, I thought, was just such a great character to have in the show, and he was kind of like one of the few people in this zombie apocalyptic type of world that he just had that moral of right and wrong type of thing. And I also just kind of don't like it because he was the main character. But at the same time, it was a hell of a way to kick off the episode. And it wasn't like when Carl died in The Walking Dead, they did it in such a bitch way. Or, when Rick's gonna die now in The Walking Dead, when it comes up, they were such key characters where I can't really say Rick because we haven't seen him die yet, but Carl kind of died, in such a way where a typical character from The Walking Dead would have died by just getting bitten, but at least with Travis, he kind of went out in a special type of way. He went out falling out of the helicopter, and his exit to the show kind of makes sense in a way from where they're setting up the storyline later on. So I actually kind of like what they did here. It's just kind of really weird that they did it in the second episode, but I guess this does kind of show that anybody can die in this type of world at any given time. But essentially, what happens is they end up landing the helicopter, and we don't see Travis ever again. I was kind of hoping we were going to see him infected, and Alicia was going to be the one to put him down, but that didn't happen. And they pretty much have to travel to the ranch on foot, and Luciana, or Luciana, I forget how you say her last name, but Lucy is pretty much on the verge of dying from her bullet wound, and they do everything they can to try to save her. And later on in the night, and obviously too, I kind of liked the way Alicia was reacting because she kind of couldn't really stomach the fact that Travis died. She kind of had to get things going back into motion, and kind of wrap around the reality that if she doesn't get back to the ranch, then they're pretty much gonna die. Um, and they camp out later on in the night, and um, Charlene goes and keeps watch to make sure none of the infected are gonna come over, and Alicia is very skeptical about going to this place because of what her brother did, and I did kind of like how Alicia and um, Jake had this conversation where Jake was talking about how how Alicia's brother and sister relationship is much better than him and his brothers, because at least his brother's going to be happy to see her when she gets back. And then um, Charlene gives the signal that something's out there, and um, Jake goes to see what it is, and he ends up falling um, off like the pit, and a ton of the infected try to attack him, but Alicia ends up shooting them and saving him, and we find out that Charlene um, has been gotten by the infected and was being eaten alive pretty much. So, and I kind of like the way they set this up, because I think we were supposed to originally have thought this was Travis. At least that's what I thought. Who I thought it was going to be, anyways. And um, Jake has to put Charlene down, and we find out that Charlene later on, earlier in the episode, was Jake's wife, and he has no choice but to put her down. So it kind of really made um, the episode. They kind of really made Jake and Alicia's dynamic kind of really work, because they both lost somebody that was really important to them, and they talked about how this world really sucks. And how they survive it. And they pretty much both have to carry um, Luciana. So I liked this scene a lot. And Travis dying just really made this episode. And it really made you pay attention to. Um, and it was like one of the first things I talked about. So as this was happening, Madison and Nick are going along with Troy and somebody else to the ranch, and when they get there, they find out that Jake, Travis, Alicia, and Charlene haven't shown up yet, so they're gonna go to talk to everybody, and they're told to wait outside the gate. And Nick just wants to go out there and look for them, because Nick doesn't trust this community, but Madison doesn't want to, because then if Travis and Alicia end up coming there, then they have to go look for her, and it's just um, trying to chase the chicken pretty much. So Madison wants Nick to follow her lead, and when they go to hug, Nick finds out that Madison has a pistol hidden, um, and is going to take action just in case she needs to. And who comes over? None other than I have to get his name because I don't remember what his name is. Um, it was pretty much and we find out that the name of this community too is Broke Jaw Ranch. And we meet Jeremiah. I don't know if that's how you say his name, and he's pretty much asking Madison questions, and we find out pretty much from this that he's the Otto brothers' father. So he's Madison kind of talks about the bad things um, that Troy did, and they eventually let Travis and Nick into the community. And I kind of like the dynamic they have with each other, where Madison and Nick don't look very happy to be there, and they talk about the community. We find out that they had been setting this up for a while now for something else, but for lack of democracy. But then they found out that the dead were gonna rise, and how they talked about how you know that they didn't really seem too thrilled to be here, and when they get brought into their house, Nick pretty much wants to take action and kill these people, because he feels like that he brought Luciana and her entire community to their death and feels like he wants to do something about it. But Madison just wants Nick to go along for the ride and make this community their home. So that kind of becomes a constant um, fight between them. And then eventually, what I'm going to skip to because we didn't really see anything else that happened, to when Alicia and Jake come back with Luciana, and I did like the scene where Madison was asking where Travis was, but she was kind of asking like she knew something had happened to Travis, but was in shock about it, and Alicia let her know. I kind of like the way they did that scene. What I didn't like about Travis's death though was the the writers and stuff didn't really make it feel like a big deal, as much as it should have been. For example, when because then they just kind of jumped to the storyline with Luciana. Pretty much, she's passed out, and Troy's gonna put her down, because she's gonna turn. But Nick wants her to be put into the infirmary, but they refuse to do that because just in case she does turn. So when Troy's about to put her down, Nick wants to be the one to do it because it's her boy, because it's his girlfriend, and he wants someone um, that she loved to do it. But then we find out that it was a trick. He points the gun at Troy and threatens to shoot him if he doesn't give her any medical attention. And everybody at the Broke Jaw Ranch points their guns at Nick, and then eventually Jeremiah um, tells Nick to hand him over the gun if she has a pulse, to bring her in. So they do, and what happens is that they end up being at the hospital later on, and Nick thanks Alicia for getting her here, and they kind of have an upsetting moment because of Travis. And then Madison is completely distraught, and having an emotional breakdown, pretty much. And Jeremiah comes up and reveals that one of his jobs at the community is to make sure that no one's in a danger of anybody. And Madison could be a danger because typically when people lose their spouses, they usually end up killing themselves. And in this type of world, it's not really good to kill yourself because you just come back as the infected. So she said that she's good, and he also has her sign for the gun that she stole, and she ends up signing for it. And I kind of thought this was a dick move a little bit because it didn't really seem like that Jeremiah cared that she was having an emotional breakdown about the loss of her husband. So I didn't like that, but whatever. So then Madison, Nick, and Alicia are talking back at their trailer because that's what their house is pretty much. And Madison reveals that the plan is that they're gonna make this place their home, whether they have to go along with for the ride or they're gonna take it over. And Nick and Alicia are unhappy about this. The Madison says they're doing this because Travis died trying to get here, and we went through hell to get to this place, and we're gonna make the best of it. So I kind of liked this because Travis's death made Madison really appreciate this place even more, and appreciate the fact that they have a chance to survive now. So I kind of like that. I definitely think Travis's presence is going to be missed in the show, and it made the whole show, this whole episode, kind of depressing. And then one other storyline that took place in this episode is back at the hotel. Strand, everybody's trying to come into the hotel because Madison shined that spotlight, and wants to be treated, and Elena and Hector refuse to treat anybody. So Strand makes up the fact that he's a doctor, to save everybody. So they go through this process where it shows Strand treating people. He ends up helping a woman give birth, and the woman ended up naming the baby after him. And Hector and Elena don't want to take the risk, that they're gonna find out that he's really not a doctor, and then that makes them look bad, and everyone's gonna get mad at him. So they throw Strand out without any food, water, or vehicle. So Hector reveals that Strand has one last patient, and ends up being, and we find out that this person is just completely depressed, hasn't eaten, and is going to turn if she doesn't eat. And we find out that who is it? None other than Eileen, which I kind of liked because they had a situation where Eileen stabbed him in season 2, so I kind of like the fact that they went with that. And they have a conversation where Eileen doesn't see the point of really living anymore because she's lost everything. And Strand opens the porch door, or the balcony door, whatever you want to call it, and says that he thought the same thing originally when the zombie apocalypse started, but then when he helped a woman give birth, he realizes that they're going to be the new face of the new generation. And Eileen thanks Strand for putting her daughter down and gives him a gift that she was going to give his daughter the day of her wedding, but gives it to Strand instead as like an apology for stabbing him. And then she says there's no more new generation or something like that. And she ends up jumping off the balcony and committing suicide pretty much, which I thought was a nice scene, and it was a predictable scene, but still was a nice scene. And Strand's like surprised about this, and the episode doesn't end this way, but this storyline itself ends when it's revealed that the gift that she gave him was the keys to a call, but I forget the name of the call. It was Jaguar, which is like a brand new car. It's black too, and I kind of like the way I liked the quote where he talked about how it's just the car that's just for him, the white color and everything, where he pretty much did a quote because he's black and the color's black, so he said just my size and my color, so I kind of like that joke in there. And I'm assuming this is going to lead to Strand being brought back to the Cloak group, which I think makes sense. But I liked this storyline as well. Obviously, it was like filler stuff. It didn't really feel important, but I liked what they did with this storyline, because if this was Walking Dead, the actual show, they would have made this its own episode. But I like the fact that Fear the Walking Dead combined these two storylines into one episode, and I gotta admit, I thought this episode was fantastic. Another fantastic episode. Really nothing wrong with this one either. The only thing I didn't like is that Travis's exit from this show wasn't treated as much of a big deal as it should have been, because pretty much it really wasn't talked about. But other than that, I really didn't hate anything about this episode. I thought this was another fantastic opening. So if I had to rate this episode, I'm gonna give it an A. I thought it was fantastic. Really nothing wrong with it except for what I just said about Travis. But a big main character died in this episode. I liked the stuff they did with Madison, Nick, and Alicia. Eventually, all transferring into the Broke Jaw Ranch community. And then I'm interested to see where that goes. And I liked this episode a lot. I even liked Strand's storyline. While it was filler, I still thought it was good stuff. So I would definitely recommend it. And yeah, I gotta say, this season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead has been great so far. I definitely recommend checking it out. So yeah, I'm gonna give this episode an A. But that's pretty much the end. Other people kind of agreed with me a little bit as well. They liked it, because the critics kind of reviewed it the same way I did. Well, differently than I did, since they were able to watch both episodes at the same time. They loved the episode. But as for what IMDb thought, there's no review of it on there, but it gave it like a 7.2 or something like that. Or 7.3, something in that range, out of 10. So still a pretty good rating, but that's pretty much the end of this review. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell, so that way every time I upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers YouTube channel. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.